do. We're science-based. We know what words, we know what things, what activities create more coherence in the brain and the heart. We know what it takes to alter a person's states. We've measured it thousands and thousands of times. So in our meditations, we start off by telling everybody, look, you already know how to do this. You just forgot because you're too busy and too distracted. And most people, to finish the thought from our last conversation, wait for crisis or trauma or disease or diagnosis or loss to finally change. It's got to get so bad that they no longer feel like themselves any longer, that they can see what they look like for the first time. So everybody that's listening on this call has done something great in their life. And what did they do? They got a wild idea. They got a new idea. They asked themselves a question like, what would it be like to be healthy? What would it be like to be wealthy? What would it be like to be in a new relationship? What would it be like to be happy? The moment they ask that question, they turn on the creative center in their brain. They turn on their frontal lobe. Now, the frontal lobe's got to get busy creating. So it's got to use the raw materials in the brain. It's got to use the circuits of things you've learned intellectually or philosophically and the things you've experienced in your life. So the frontal lobe's got to answer the question. So it looks out over the landscape of the brain and it starts activating different circuits. And when it seamlessly pieces it together, you get a vision in your mind that's called an intention. Now, a passionate person who has that vision, the thought in their mind becomes the experience. They start to feel the emotion as if they're already there ahead of the event. And when you combine a clear intention with an elevated emotion, you're changing your energy, you're changing your neurocircuitry, you're changing your chemistry, you're changing your genetic expression. You're no longer living in your past. In that moment, you're living in your future. So being defined by a vision of the future is what our work is about instead of the memories of the past. So what should they do then? Write down the choices you got to make and make sure you commit them to memory. Review the things you got to do. Review the behaviors. Think about the experiences, your goals in that future and how they feel. And keep reviewing them. Keep your conscious mind on them. Now, the most important thing is to review the thoughts that you don't want to think. You know, I can't, it's too hard, I'll never change, this won't work for me, it's my mother's fault, it's my father's fault, it's my ex's fault, I don't feel like it, whatever it is. Write those thoughts down and become so conscious of those unconscious thoughts that you would never go unconscious or believe them again. Write down the choices you got to stop making. Think about the things you no longer want to do, the habits you got to break, the experiences you got to stay away from that are connected to certain people and certain places, and the emotions that are going to bring you to a lower denominator. And you got to become so conscious of that 95% of where most people live that you won't go unconscious and return back to the old self. That's the work right there. So that process is what we all innately are wired to do anyway. It's just that you got to make the time to do it. And that's the key right there. Most people don't want to make the time.